What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Double D Report. It's me and Dean. Obviously, this week is going to be absolutely crazy. We already started off with a bang over the weekend with the Luka trade, and there was even another trade that I believe happened yesterday or Sunday, which was huge. And obviously, we need to talk about the biggest thing coming this Sunday, the Super Bowl. Dean, are you excited for the Super Bowl?
Not really. No, not in any way, shape, or form. But yet we still do have to talk about it because it is the one of the single biggest sports events within the United States. So, of course, we have to talk about it no matter how much I want to avoid talking about the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, Dean. First thing we're going to touch on today, which is shocking. I know, guys, we're not talking about football first. We need to talk about this De'Aaron Fox trade. Dean, I want your honest opinion on the trade. Who did it benefit more? Overall viewpoint on it.
Yeah, so this was a three-team trade, and it's not that, it's not like a third team just came in to take salary or to take picks and etc. This was a legitimate three-team trade where players were being thrown around for all three teams. For anybody who doesn't know, the Spurs were able to bag De'Aaron Fox in this trade. The Kings were able to get Zach LaVine among a lot of different picks, and the Bulls, well, they pretty much just got a bunch of different mishmash, for lack of a better term, in this. Um, Personally, it's hard not to say that the Spurs didn't win this trade. Pairing Wemby with somebody of De'Aaron Fox's caliber at point guard is a little frightening for the league, to say the least, just because of how good De'Aaron Fox is and how fucking good Wemby is in only his second full year in the NBA. So definitely a big win for the Spurs there to pair their big man with a legitimate point guard. However, I think the Kings came out of this really, really good. I mean, not only did they get Zach LaVine, who, let's be honest, the Kings aren't really going anywhere, so that doesn't matter too much, but they were able to get 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks in this trade, which is always a good thing when a team is kind of in that lull, in that in-between where they're not sure if they want to win or not. Now they at least have the opportunity to build within the draft over the next, 5 to 10 years with these picks. It sucks that they lost their star player, but they still do have an opportunity to compete a little bit in the short term with Zach LaVine adding to the team. But the picks are huge for them.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But if you really break down their lineup, it's sneakily good. They have DeRozan, they have Sabonis, and they have Zach LaVine. Three. Don't get me wrong, the DeRozan and the Zach LaVine. There's not a true guard, I'd say, on that team, not like a De'Aaron Fox replacement. But it's still two very good players surrounding around a good center. But obviously, what you said with Wemby getting another good guard, because he did before they did have Chris Paul, who is still good, but he's obviously aging. But as what the Spurs are thinking, they're thinking long term.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Spurs are definitely thinking long term, like you just said. Pairing Wemby and pairing De'Aaron Fox together is, a recipe for success, not only this year, at least you hope maybe you can go on a little bit of run, maybe even make the playoffs and give Wemby some playoff experience. But this is really a move for like 2, 3, 4 years down the road, consecutively, where you can at least compete in the West with that sort of team. I think it does need to be noted that the Kings also did get a guard in this deal. They got um, Sissoko. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who is only 20 years old and he is a point guard. So I mean, this is more or less just to see if it works out type of deal. Um, and I'm curious to see if it will, because he's a pretty big point guard. He's like 6'6". He's more or less like a shooting guard, more than a point guard, but he is still 20 years old. So the Kings really did focus more or less on getting players and pieces for their future. And the Spurs made this deal for their now and for their foreseeable future. So big deal all around. Not sure if the Bulls were trying to get anything out of this. Sure, they got some, actual NBAers like Zach Collins and Kevin Herter, but I mean, the Bulls really didn't. This wasn't a needle mover for the Bulls in any direction, in
No,
my opinion.
I think pretty much I see what the Bulls are doing. They're just pretty not tank. Well, tanking. I want to not say tanking, but it seems like they are, because why give up Zach LaVine, who's a true very good talent? Don't get me wrong. They still have Lonzo, who is the who's going to be the guard. It's going to be Lonzo, Vucevic, and then such and such after that. But I think during like these upcoming drafts, like if they, I don't know what the Bulls' record is this year. I don't know if
It's
they're,
not good.
I don't know.
It's 21 and 29. The point I was just going to make is all three of these teams aren't really playoff teams as of right now. So you had two teams that are really like one team in particular, the Spurs, thinking about their future for next year and the year after and trying to make the playoffs. Sacramento can make the playoffs this year. They're 25 and 24. They're actually do currently hold the 9 spot, but they're not going to go anywhere. It's not like this was more of a move for their future to get picks back.
Another thing I would say though, like for a Bulls aspect, I do like where they. I don't see why giving up Zach LaVine. Like I don't know if his contract was running up, to be specific.
Well, that's where things come into play, at least with from the Bulls side. Zach LaVine does have this year and the following year left on his contract. Not to mention the year after that, he has a player option. So including this year, he did have 3 more years to go. And on top of that, his cap hit over the next 2 years averages around $47 million.
God damn.
So if you look at it from a Bulls perspective, yeah, sure, they didn't get really a lot of picks or any sort of, future considerations back. They only did get their own second round pick back, if I'm not mistaken. But they did shed all of that cap. So at least they have a little bit maneuverability to go out there and maybe get a young player in an up and coming free agency class like a Luka
I was
Doncic.
just about to say. Do you think that some teams, this might be crazy to say, do you think some teams are clearing out cap to potentially get him?
Well, they won't say that, and that's not explicitly said because
No, but like in your opinion.
a lot of teams that are in the mid tier and they suck anyway are going to clear cap just to clear cap, right? The Bulls are 21 and 29; they're not going anywhere. They're not a good team. However, if you're going to spend 50 plus $1 million on a player, I think that player is Luka. So, I mean, we mentioned this in the emergency pod, Derek. Every team in this league should at least put in an offer for him.
I think you have to. Well, every team besides, I'd say the Warriors.
Well, look, even if Steph Curry is aging and he's, going to be gone in, let's just say 2 to 3 years, right? Why wouldn't you put in a bid for Luka?
I, t- I feel like because Luca, in my opinion, they're not going to move Curry to shooting guard,
No, they would keep him at point guard.
but they're not going to move Luca's a point guard. He's not a
Look,
shooting guard.
but he can be a shooting guard.
Yeah, I don't know because
And on top of that, Luka is a phenomenal passer. And we all know that Curry may be the best all time moving without the ball.
true.
Plus, on top of that, a team that signs Luka, you don't have to sign him to win now. He's only 25 years old. Whoever signs him as an unrestricted free agent, which I predicted in the emergency pod, I don't think it's going to be the Lakers. Whoever signs him, he's your centerpiece for the next 5 to 10 years.
Hmm.
So you're putting an investment in on him, and I don't think there's anybody better in the NBA right now to put an investment on.
Yeah,
So that's why I think a lot of teams should go for him. Do I think the Bulls have a realistic chance of getting him? No. No, nobody's gonna go from LA to Chicago. No offense, Chicago, but it's just not gonna happen.
yeah, that's fair enough.
So, look, the Bulls shed a lot of cap. The Spurs got their men with Wemby. The Sacramento Kings got a fuck ton of picks and some young players.
Yeah. Well, one thing obviously I will say is that it's so great about basketball is that consistent, insane trades that like you just don't expect. Like obviously we did speak about De'Aaron Fox was he wanted to get traded or he wanted out of Sacramento, but just seeing a 3-team trade, I was not expecting Levine to go anywhere.
Yeah, because sometimes you do need these teams in order to take cap space, right? It's just how it works with the logistics of some of these types of trades. And we saw that with the Lakers, where they had, I believe it was Utah, who came in and took some salary cap off them. So sometimes it's quite literally just salary cap and logistics that you do need a third team. This one, I think, was more or less the Bulls were willing to take on a little bit more just to get rid of Zach LaVine's contract. And the Sacramento Kings, willing to take a ton of picks, were willing to take Zach LaVine's contract in coordination with that.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect storm, and I think it worked out well. And on top of that, we're recording this on Tuesday. This deadline's not till Thursday.
Yeah,
This this is not done yet. I'm sure next podcast or we're gonna have another emergency pod where there will be another big trade that we're gonna be speaking to.
I'm not like I was obviously reading some ESPN articles today, but there's one person who might get traded again, Mr. Kevin Durant.
I did hear that. He has a lot of prospective clients who may be interested.
Yes, and he is in fact sitting out tonight. He is doubtful to play tonight. So
That yeah. Well, to be
he's not
fair,
playing.
if you're the Suns, that's a smart move,
Yeah,
right? Because this guy, no offense to KD, but he is aging, and God forbid he could tear his Achilles
again.
anytime. So the two biggest teams that I saw with Kevin Durant, and you tell me if I'm wrong, was the Warriors, who would be very interesting considering there is that compatibility already. And I also saw the New York Knicks,
If he goes to the New York Knicks, I'm not coming on this podcast
which I'm conflicted as a Knicks fan,
because
right?
I know they would give up Bridges. They said
Oh, I don't think that would happen. I think more or less the Knicks would just completely give every pick they have within the next 10 years.
you don't
And
think.
and to be fair, I actually think that's okay because you're going for it now anyway, and you haven't been in this position in probably the last 25 years.
I think he and I think the King is Katie would love to go to New York.
He would. The one thing I'm worried about is I just don't know how he would work with New York. Who do you send to the bench? Right? That's the most difficult decision here. I don't think you can physically send Hart to the bench because of how dynamic and how good he is for this team. So, if you trade for KD, do you go, you're going to be our sixth man of the year, buddy?
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. I think they would move Bridges if anything.
You think so?
I think if the Knicks do make that trade, they'll probably move Bridges to the six man because he's a great defensive asset. That's number one. So where it'll
Yes.
be good to have him coming off the bench and then guarding the best player.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. It to be fair, it would may probably be a good problem to have having these type of caliber players. I'm just worried because every team Kevin Durant goes to, except the Warriors, usually doesn't fare well.
Exactly. And
So it's going to be curious to see what they do with him.
I hope we find out the news tonight. That
Doubtful.
I I know it's doubtful, but we obviously thought the fucking Luka trade was doubtful, so anything's possible. That happened
That's
late.
also
That happened late at night too.
100% true.
All right, so obviously that obviously concludes that there's trades, a little trades, but I do want to say in the NBA or slash sports world and speak about trades in general.
Yep.
This Luca trade was huge. It
Yeah.
went, it was big around the entire fucking world, pretty much. Well, entire sports world. Where where would you rank this in? I'd say in your top five of craziest sports trades. I have my list of top five in order. If you want to hear mine to go off of like
No, so I'm gonna ask here first and foremost, are we talking about trades all time or are we talking about trades in my lifetime?
all time, all time, all time.
All time? That's tough, man. I mean,
I don't think it's. I got mine pretty easily actually.
you got yours pretty look, you have the heavy hitters. I get that. Where do I rank the Luca trade? It's tough to like in terms of shock factor. Yeah, you may have this top five. You realistically may have this top five because the Mavericks just traded a once in a lifetime player at 25 years old for pretty much nothing.
A bag of walnuts.
I'm not going to say AD is nothing, but let's be honest, it's for nothing.
Yes.
But I'm so reluctant because there's been so many big trades throughout the course of sports history that I don't know how you can rank Luca going to the Lakers on top of some of them, right? I think the consensus biggest trade in sports history in terms of impact, in terms of everything that could have happened in the sport, was Babe Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees. I
That's
don't think anybody
that's
I
my
don't
number
think
one.
anybody I don't think anybody can argue that being number one, right? Not only did it change the course of the Boston Red Sox franchise history and the New York Yankees franchise history, it changed baseball, right? He went from a pitcher to a hitter, won multiple World Series for the Yankees, put baseball right back on the map and to be America's sport, and Boston went on a streak where they didn't even win a World Series for almost 100 years.
The, the curse of the Bambino.
So I don't think you can ever put something above that. And then there's a lot of others. Like, do you want me to list off some of the ones that I think?
Yeah, that's what I want your top five to be specific.
So my top five, obviously one Babe Ruth. Nobody's touching that for me, right? That's just my opinion. Number two is tough. I'm gonna go a little biased here, just because I'm a Yankees fan. I'm gonna go A-Rod, moving from Texas to the Yankees. I mean, this was a big deal because A-Rod at the time and even after for the next 10 years was probably the best player in the major leagues. So that was a big deal for Texas not to even try to re-sign him, instead just, sending him over to the Yankees. So, well, I shouldn't say that. They did sign him to a big deal, but then they traded him only 3 years, I believe, into to the Yankees. So that's a big one for me. Another one that's huge for me, just going into different sports, hockey, the greatest player to ever live, Wayne Gretzky, getting traded to the Los Angeles Kings. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that coming, going from Edmonton to the Kings. I mean, Edmonton literally won their fifth Stanley Cup and then he was traded. I mean, that's pretty crazy to trade one of the greatest players of all time. But then after that top three, it gets a little wonky. I think it's honestly just personal opinion at that point. Like, you could say from the Vikings to the Patriots, Randy Moss was a huge one in terms of star-studded factor. You could say Shaq from the Lakers to the Heat was a huge one that resulted in a championship for the Heat. Um, it's tough to say. I would rank Luka to the LA though, just based on my head right now. I would rank it top 10, no doubt.
I have, in fact, in number five spot.
Okay.
I the things I have before is obviously I have Babe Ruth at one, Wayne Gretzky at two. I then had A Rod at three, Wilt Chamberlain at four and I also was like reading up on it because I got curious. I was like this. I'm pretty sure I got traded at the same like around the same age or like the like time to where young in his career just came off of a great year and then gets traded. So and a lot of people did say that it is the best way to compare it to Luca. But obviously Wilt ended up being obviously one of the greatest players in basketball, and obviously Luca is in that scenario. But I think it's the good thing is like it's good to see these trade. They happen once in a while, and it's not like consistently. Oh, crazy trade, crazy trade, crazy trade, crazy trade.
Yep.
Which I
No,
think is good for sports.
no, look, I agree. And then you could even go more recent, Derek, because I was thinking about it a little bit earlier today. You can, sticking with basketball, one of the bigger trades that happened that resulted directly in NBA championship was DeRozan for Kawhi.
Mm,
That was huge. That quite literally propelled Toronto to win an NBA championship.
I completely forgot about that.
It's a big trade, and not a lot of people remember it because it was just because it resulted in a championship. Whereas the Luka, I mean, who knows? Cross my fingers, but who knows? Maybe it could result in a championship for one of those teams. It's possible.
And if you're going off of that, you could also say the Matthew Stafford trade.
That's true. That's another big one. Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff and a couple of first round picks. I mean, that's big as well. That resulted directly in a Super Bowl championship for the Rams. Like, see, it doesn't have to be huge on the scale of a shock factor. It just has to be huge in terms of impact. Like the trades that we just mentioned, all were massive trades that almost all of them directly corresponded to a championship.
Yeah, I feel like you could overall get this answer on how this trade is. Not this year, but I think if say God forbid if he doesn't sign back to the Lakers, you could get your overall consensus after the season. But if he does, you could see how he is with the Lakers for however long he's there for.
Yep, that's true.
Well, that concludes our mini segment on basketball, which we will touch on potentially later. But we have to go to the main thing, the biggest thing, the world's greatest thing.
Okay, all right, let's calm down here. Let's calm down. All
It's my
right,
only
Eagles.
happy. It's my only happiness. Leave me alone. Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl, New Orleans. First, we're gonna start off by just talking about the game
Yeah.
first. Dean, I want you to start off because my team is in it and your team isn't. So I want to hear your opinion first.
Look, this should be a good game. I think on both sides of the ball, you could have argued you could have argued in the NFC and AFC that there were a couple of other teams that could have made it here, but these two teams definitely deserved it just by how they played all year. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs have been dominant to say the least, and it doesn't even look like they've been trying, for lack of a better term. And then at the same point, the Eagles, they had a very good team to begin with coming into this year, and then they made their one huge move in getting Saquon, and it's paid off dividends already, right? So we've seen that. You have two dynamic teams, two dynamic offenses, not to mention two top five defenses, which is another huge factor within this Super Bowl. So typically, how these things go, if you have two top five defenses, is one, it's either going to be a low scoring game, like a 20-17 game, or it's going to be a fucking barn burner, and you're just going to have like 42-39 final score, where the defenses just completely forget to show up. I'm going to err on the side of caution and say it's going to be the low scoring game, just because when two great defenses do match, there typically is a little bit of, I don't want to say nervousness on each side, but teams usually play tighter. I know from experience twice when the Giants and the Patriots played, two great defenses, and those games were low scoring to begin with, 17-14 and 21-17. So that's the air of side of caution that I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Do you want me to just give my prediction right now?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll give your prediction.
Okay, so first and foremost, for Derek's point of view and for my point of view and for our viewers' point of view, the line right now is the Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 1.5. I think that's a fair line. It's pretty much a pick'em game if you think about it that way. And they are the back-to-back two-time Super Bowl champions, so they should be favored, right? That's fair. I'm going to go and say that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to cover this. I think they're going to have the first three-peat in NFL history, which is no light thing to say, right? To do something that's never been done in NFL history, where there have been unbelievable dynasty teams, right? The 80s and 90s San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys, the early 2000s and mid 2000s New England Patriots, right? None of those teams were able to do a three-peat, which is unbelievable, Derek. So if they were able to pull it off, it would be one of the greatest feats in sports history. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I do think it's going to be a very close game, and I think the Chiefs win by 3. I think they win by 3 late. I think the final score of this game is going to be 23-20, Kansas City Chiefs.
If we lose by a field goal again, I'm not going to make it to the next day.
Look, but that's how Super Bowls should be. I don't think there should be a blowout on each side. I think this is no more. There's no way this game is going to be more than a 7-point difference come the final. There's no way. I don't even care if you're an Eagles fan. You're not blowing out the Kansas City Chiefs. If anything, it's more likely that you get blown out. And that's just the reality of it. They've been here before. They know how to do it. They're not getting blown out, Derek. If they lose, it's going to be by 3 points.
All right. Now that I let you speak, I'm going to speak.
Oh, Jesus, here we go.
Obviously, I do agree with you. Obviously, that there's two great defenses going against each other. But I'm also basing this off of 2 years ago, the Eagles played the Chiefs. They were ranked around the same for defenses. Not obviously the Chiefs were higher because Spagnuolo's defense at that time was unstoppable.
It's still pretty damn good.
It's still unstoppable, obviously. But the Eagles' defense this year got a lot better to what it was that year. But I do think it's going to be on the side to where the two defenses just can't handle the pressure. I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. First of all, obviously the Eagles they have Saquon Barkley. They just acquired Saquon Barkley this year, which was huge. He brought us here. He's one of the big reasons to why we're here. Obviously the defense, O-line, we spoke about that. But at the end of the day, it does go down to coaching. Andy Reid is one of the greatest coaches of all time. I hate to say it because he was an Eagles coach and he did diddly dick for us, but he is. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. I do think every quarterback and every coach always has that one team to stop them. And for some reason, I don't know why, I know that I could be stupid for thinking this, and obviously I'm an Eagles fan. I do think the Eagles are going to win this game. But I think it's. Now, hear me out.
Well, I just want your reasoning because you just completely contradicted yourself.
No, no, no. Uh, let me explain why I said this. Because Bill Belichick, right? Arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, right? You lose to coaches. You lose to some
Okay.
coaches in the Super Bowl. They lost to Tom Coughlin twice. Eli Manning owned Tom Brady. Correct? Yes or no?
I mean, the
Yes, or,
Giants
yeah,
own
yeah, yes or no?
the Giants own Tom
All
Brady.
right, the Giants owned Tom Brady, who was coached by Tom Coughlin.
Yes.
Okay, I'm saying that Andy Reid is the greatest coach of all time. Well, one of the greatest coaches of all time. But I also said, if you actually listen, I said all coaches could get stopped, should get stopped, or will get stopped.
Of course
Yes,
they could.
and I'm saying that this game he will get stopped.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
You think Sirianni's the guy?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just have a sick feeling that the Eagles are gonna win this game. Now, hear me out. Hear me out about this.
Just compared Nick Sirianni to Tom Coughlin. Jesus Christ.
Well,
How do we even allow you to have a mic?
all right. Well, you gotta think about this, Dean. The guy has been in two Super Bowls in the 4 years he's been with the team. That you're telling me that's not impressive? Obviously, I hate the guy. I
But
hate him.
he lost.
Okay, when Tom Coughlin coached them the first year, didn't he lose? First
No.
year he went to the Super Bowl.
No.
So who was the coach when you guys lost to the Ravens?
In 2000?
That was a two. That was sorry that was not in 2000.
It was in 2000, Derek.
Early 2000 flat.
2000 flat. 2000 Super Bowl.
I don't think so.
I'm almost positive.
Personally, I was in like 05, 06.
Giants versus Ravens Super Bowl. 2001. My fault.
Okay.
2001, and it was not Tom Coughlin.
All right. And fuck the Giants. We're not talking about them. They're not in the fucking play.
You're just stupid.
All right, Dean. I'm trying to defend my point to make it seem like the Eagles have a chance of winning this game. I'm trying to brainwash myself. Leave me be. All right. Now this other statement I'm about to say is outlandish, which you're not going to agree on at all. You might actually.
I didn't agree with anything.
You might smack me for saying this. I think the Eagles are going to win by 2 scores.
You can't be this stupid! You can't!
Now hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. I know you're shocked and you want to kill me, but these are my reasoning. I do think the Eagles will be up by 7, and the Chiefs will turn over the ball to where the Eagles kick a field goal to make it a 10-point game. I don't think it's going to be 14, but I think it's going to be a 10-point game.
We really got to get you to a doctor for a CT scan, man. Like, look, I really do appreciate your fandom. I get it, right? You're an Eagles fan. You are giving the most ludicrous and bullshit reasonings for them to win this Super Bowl, and I respect it. You're delusional. All fans should be, right? Do the Eagles have a legitimate chance to win this game? 1,000%. They are a very good team. They were definitely the best team in the NFC, not counting the Lions because the Lions were putting down third stringers in their defense. The Eagles were definitely the best team in the NFC. However, every point you just gave me is as if a monkey was writing down on a piece of paper why the Eagles should win. You know why the Eagles would win this game, right? The Eagles would win this game if they hold the Chiefs under 20 points, which their defense may do. The Eagles are going to win this game if they can rush for 150 yards as an offense with their offensive line, which is best in the league. They can do. And the Eagles are going to win this game if they limit turnovers, which they have and which they can do. Those are the 3 realistic reasons why they can win the Super Bowl. Coaching? Not one of them. Not one of them, Derek.
No. Well, technically, at the end of the day, it goes down to coaching. You can't say it doesn't.
Okay, so then you're losing.
No, you never. All right, you. What I mean is whoever calls the best game.
You're losing.
All right, you're on it. All right, the game didn't start. How can you say Andy Reid is going to call a better game than Nick Sirianni?
Because he's done it 3 of the last 5 years.
No,
I don't understand your argument.
but
Are you actually arguing that Nick Sirianni is going to call a better game than Andy Reid?
this game I do.
Okay, so the conversation's over. You're stupid.
No, I'm not stupid.
You are stupid.
No, because it's different if you're... Obviously, we saw it happen these past couple years, Dean. This is a new, completely different year. You can't go into a game and say, if it goes down to coaching, Andy Reid's going to win the game. That's completely... No, let me speak. Now let me speak. You're getting me pissed off. When Doug Peterson versus Bill Belichick in the playoffs, did you think Doug Peterson would outcoach Bill Belichick? Yes or no?
Doug Peterson is a better coach than Nick Sirianni.
I'm not asking that. I'm saying, would you say going into the game after seeing Bill Belichick just bring back the Patriots 28-3, coach a better game than Doug Peterson? Would you think that?
No.
That's what I'm saying. That's the main, it's the same exact scenario, Dean.
It's not.
How?
It's just not. Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you, right? If the Eagles win this game, it has nothing to do with Nick Sirianni. The Eagles, I hate to break it to you, and I gave my 3 reasons. The Eagles will not be out coaching the Kansas City Chiefs. If the Eagles win this game, it's because they played better, not because they coached better. That's my argument. And I think that's a very much more realistic argument. You compared this bullshit to Tom Coughlin beating Bill Belichick. Tom Coughlin's one of the greatest coaches of all time, Derek.
I know he is.
Okay, so and you just compared Nick Sirianni to him.
Dude, I'm
pissed. Now I'm pissed.
Dude, I'm stressing out about this game. Leave me alone.
Good, but you still have to be rational.
Okay. I 100. You're right with the 3 points. All right. I 100% agree with you. Rush the ball, stop them, and limit turnovers. We've done that. Yeah. We had 0 turnovers this entire playoff run. We haven't turned the ball over once, which is insane to say. Our defense has been playing good with the injuries, and we've been running the ball very well. But obviously, the downfall to all this is Spagnuolo's defense. We haven't gone against the Spagnuolo defense in the NFC because there's no type of defense that is compared to that.
No, there isn't, because Spagnuolo, not only this year but historically, even on the 2011 Giants Super Bowl team, he is a very heavy blitz defensive coordinator. He blitzes on over 50% of the plays, which is astounding if you think about it. Which is astounding. So to all 3 points that I made, right, the Eagles are going to have to execute on them. But there's counters to it on the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The first one, Mr. Philadelphia Eagles' great defense, which they do have. On the other side is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, turnovers. You guys have limited them. You guys have done very well. Alternative to that, Spagnuolo's defense. Number 3, offensive line and rushing the ball, which you have done exceptionally well. 50% blitz rate, Spagnuolo's defense. And one of the best defensive lines in the game. So it's really just going to be a battle of the trenches. And that's going to be to determine the winner.
What would be the 3 key ways to victory for the Chiefs?
For the Chiefs is simple, right? One is defense. It's the same as the Eagles, right? If you can limit Saquon Barkley and the rushing attack, I truly believe the Chiefs will win this game, because I don't think there's been a true game this year where Jalen Hurts has taken over and won a game by himself. I don't doubt that he can do it. I just doubt that he won't do it in the biggest stage. That's my thing. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes, man. That's the obvious one, right? This guy has been here. He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's going for his 3rd in a row now, his 4th total. He's been here before. He knows what he has to do, whether it's scrambling, running, making ridiculous plays that nobody in this world can make other than him. That's what he does, right? That's why he's the best quarterback on the planet. Number 3, and I think this one, I mean, it depends on the way you look at it. It's coaching. If this game comes down to in any way, shape, or form decisions that are made by the coaching staff, whether it's timeouts, whether it's going for it on 4th down, whether it's doing fake bullshit, fake punts, fake field, any of that, I have Andy Reid all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. So that's their keys to victory. Both teams, though, they really are compatible. They really do a lot of the same stuff. Except on one side, their offense is run heavy, and on the other side, their offense is the greatest quarterback in the game right now heavy.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fun game.
There's one thing I will say, though, that the Chiefs cannot do to what they have done is obviously in their playoff games they've actually tried, I'd say, but they can't be doing how they've been playing the entire year. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. It's going to be a different story. I completely understand that, but you cannot let the Eagles get in front in this game. Because I think say, God forbid, if the Eagles go up, the Eagles get the ball, the Chiefs get the ball first. They punt their first drive. The Eagles go down and score. Then they get the ball, and then they kick a field goal. You cannot settle in this game. Not because the AFC this year, the teams that the Chiefs have gone through, in my eyes, haven't been as good as the Eagles. Like the team if you compare the AFC teams that they verse to the Eagles team, it doesn't compare. Do you get what I'm saying, or do you still think I'm fucking stupid?
I get what you're saying. I do think you're stupid, but I get what you're saying. I get at least your point of view in it. I understand. However, from my point of view is, look, I get it. You want to get off to a hot start, especially in the Super Bowl. And if you go down 10 points in the Super Bowl, you're not feeling too great. However, I mean, we're talking about the same Kansas City Chiefs team that was down 20-10 to the 49ers in the 4th quarter of their first Super Bowl win with Patrick Mahomes. And they went on a run and scored, what was it? If I'm not mistaken, 14 or 21 unanswered points in the 4th.
Yeah, 21. I think.
So I get it. You don't want to have a big deficit ever in the Super Bowl. But if there's any team that could do it, it's the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same point, do I necessarily think that the Eagles' path to the Super Bowl was harder than the Chiefs? Not really. I'm sorry, not really. Sure, the Chiefs had a first-round bye. I get it. They earned it. The Eagles didn't. And they played the Houston Texans. That's a bullshit game. Whatever. We can agree on that. But they did play the Buffalo Bills, who were another Super Bowl contender. I'm not exactly sure any of the Eagles' opponents were Super Bowl contenders, Derek.
Well, I agree with that in a little bit, but you could also base off going into it. Obviously, the Bills were Super Bowl contenders. Going into the year, the Bills were Super Bowl contenders. But the way the Commanders were playing this year was in the playoffs, especially in the most important games, they looked unstoppable. So that's why it's obviously you could base off they were projected to go to the Super Bowl or something like that, and the Commanders came out of nowhere. I'm thinking it's how they played in the playoff games, if you know what I mean.
Look, I get it.
All right, well, moving on to my stupidness. I admit I have been stupid on this, but I don't give a fuck. It's my team. I'm going to be stupid. I love being stupid. But I want to go to our losses and potentially our wins. Is betting.
More losses than wins.
More losses than wins, obviously. So this is what I ideally want to do. It's up to you. We can either make a 4-leg parlay or a 2-leg parlay. No, a 4-leg, or a 5.
No, I say we do 4-leg, 2 legs each.
All right, fair. I have, and now this is another question. Do you want to do touchdown scores or you want to do yards?
I think we could do it. Your 2 legs can be whatever the fuck you want.
I have my 2 legs already in my head.
You could choose the coin toss for all I care.
You're gonna do the coin. You're gonna do the color fucking Gatorade. I just know you.
Your two legs can be whatever you want them to be, Derek. You let your little mind race
Okay.
like the gerbil it is.
Fuck you. All right. Do you want me to start off with my two legs, and then you could do yours?
Uh, I do want you to start off. I want to hear what they are first and foremost because I'm thinking between like three and four, but I'll choose which ones that really are speaking to me internally.
Okay. All right. My first leg is an anytime touchdown score. And the reason why is because it's one of the most OP plays in the game. I think Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown score, a touch push, to be exact, in the Super Bowl. That's my one leg. And then my other leg, I'm going to take A.J. Brown over 80 yards.
AJ Brown, 80 plus receiving yards, and Jalen Hurts anytime TD. Okay. 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 All right. I respect it, big man. There you go. There you go, big man. Woo! Okay. All right. I'll get into my two legs, but we have Derek's noted. Very nice. He went Eagles heavy. Shocking. I'm gonna go with my two legs, and remember, this is a parlay. So Derek, you technically have to root for this. my first my first leg is going to go Saquon Barkley's rushing yards under 112 and a half.
I hate you.
Under 112 rushing yards and a half. I think he's for lack of a better term for his standards, I think he's going to put up a little bit of a stinker. I think he's going to only have like 80 rushing yards, which is pretty crazy to say that that's a stinker, but it is for him at least. So I'm going to go is under in rushing yards. And then this is the other one that I've had a little trouble with, right? So there's a ton of good props out there, and I do like a lot of them. I really do. And I saw that you put A.J. Brown over 80, which I also think is a little out there, but I'm going to let you have your moment because you deserve it.
On DraftKings, the odds are plus 122.
And I respect that, Derek, because his over-under is 71 and a half.
Yeah.
So you're just taking 80 plus, which I think is stupid. You should have taken the points. However, my second one, after putting in some thought and some consideration into how he's done in past years with the Kansas City Chiefs and how he's done over the last few weeks with the Kansas City Chiefs, I am going to take over 16 and a half receiving yards for Juju Smith-Schuster.
This guy.
Over 16 and a half receiving yards for Juju.
You are not fucking real. You're
I
not.
am pretty confident in this, and I cannot wait until your legs don't hit and mine do,
Okay.
and I can roast you next week.
Okay, I'm gonna make this parlay real quick. Just I want to see what the fuck the odds. And you said was it over?
I could definitely make it faster than you because you're stupid. This combined as a parlay is, unfortunately, these picks cannot be parlayed.
Well, you did it wrong, you idiot. I
I
got it.
don't think you did, but
All right.
you tell me.
All right, so I have AJ Brown for 80 yards receiving, which is mine.
Yep.
I had Saquon for under 112.
Yep.
Correct. Juju for you said over 16 and a half,
Over 16 and a half.
and Jalen Hurts for any time touchdown scorer. That is the odds of that boosted. The odds of that total is 1,300 for that parlay.
Plus
Plus
1,300.
So if you throw a nice little 25 burger on that, that's 350.
Okay.
To which I'm going to save this parlay, and I'm going to make this. I will not say how much I'm putting on it, but I'm making the bet.
Yep, to all those people out there who don't know how much he's putting on this, he's putting $2 on.
I'm not putting $2 on it. I will put. Let's just say I'm going to put more than $10 on it.
Okay.
I want it to be fun. Obviously, if it does, I thought when you said I'm not gonna like one of them, I thought you were gonna say fucking KC money line or something like that.
Oh, I thought that was an obvious one. I'd put that in there for me then too.
It's not a 5 leg. It's a fucking 4 leg. But I do have a crazy bet to make, which I'm already making.
Okay.
I'm gonna bet first time touchdown score, which is bold. Obviously in the Super Bowl, it's crazy to even bet that. I'm taking Saquon Barkley, first time touchdown scorer of the game.
Okay. Good for you.
If you could, if you, I want you to choose one crazy bet that you.
Kareem, first touchdown score.
I'm gonna fucking smack the fuck out of you. I swear to God, dude.
It's on tape. It is in the podcast. There is proof of what I just said. Kareem Hunt, first touchdown score.
Do you want to know what's gonna be so crazy? Is that's actually gonna happen, and I'm gonna be so fucking pissed.
This Super Bowl is going to go perfectly as planned, and I'm going to come onto this podcast next week grinning from ear to ear, and I'm actually going to wear a suit for your funeral.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. As for my sake, please God. All right, Dean. If the Eagles win, you're going to be the most depressed I'm going to go in on you the entire fucking podcast.
I'll be pretty depressed. That's right.
I'll be me being happy is causing you to be depressed.
Yeah, I'll be a little depressed. No doubt about it.
Which is actually sad to even hear, is that me being happy makes you depressed. But
it has nothing to do with you being happy. It's with having to do one of the most hated teams that I've ever lived winning a Super Bowl. That's why I'll be unhappy.
The Chiefs are pretty hated nowadays.
Not by me. Not this game.
Well, they are by you, but just not this game.
I don't even care about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Whatever.
I don't care about you. I don't like you. I hope the Eagles lose by 4 touchdowns and you are somewhere in a ditch by the end of Sunday night.
I'm going to be hammered in a ditch. If the Eagles lose, I'm going to be hammered in a fucking ditch. All right.
Whatever.
Well, moving on from the Super Bowl, we got our little excitement out. I do want to bring up a previous topic. That new information I didn't find. I can't say I found. Our editor, our underpaid editor, found this information when we spoke about the last podcast, which is when we were talking about the chips in the football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Dean knew that there are chips in the football. Actually, I'm just going to read a quick little summary about this. Wilson Sports Goods Co. got the RFID chip. The chip is suspended in the center of the football, allowing the surrounding air to protect the chip from the excessive force. The chip can also detect and measure the change of air pressure within the ball, allowing the chip to provide analytics regarding kicking and punting force. Mind you, fucking stupid. This may also come in handy to determine if a quarterback is deflating the game ball. Tom Brady. The tracking tech has been in place since 2017. You're telling me in 2017 they had this, but they couldn't fucking do the line. Instead they're using fucking index cards. That's fucking ridiculous. Tags are also installed into players' shoulder pads. Tags are on officials, pylons, sticks, chains. You have it on the sticks and chains. Why don't you just make it so the ball detects the first down?
Yeah. Look, I don't. To be fair, we've spoken about this in length this year, Derek, on how stupid the NFL is for not having this technology implemented, and we saw it last week. Not last week, the week previous, in the AFC Championship game, right? When Josh Allen seemingly did have a first down on a 4th down try, and they ruled it was turnover on downs. But it clearly looked like from replay review, but of course they can't determine this because they didn't have direct tracking, and instead we're doing it like barbarians did back in the medieval times with a fucking chain gang. All right? We've discussed how horrible this is. Major sports around the world, tennis, using their line technology in order to instantly, within 15 seconds, determine if a ball is in or out. Soccer, with VAR, easily being able to detect if a player is offsides. A player, mind you, they don't have a fucking football or a chip in them. A player, and or if the ball crossed the goal line. I mean, this is just standard stuff in these sports. Not to mention one other thing that I wanted to bring up on how stupid the NFL is. This past year, the average NFL game was 3 hours and 12 minutes. 3 hours and 12 minutes, right? Of that time that you watch on your television, less than 50% of that 3 hours and 12 minutes is actually watching gameplay. You're telling me that these types of technologies, whether it's goal line, whether it's football technology in order to determine where the ball is when the player's knee is down, can't like shorten the game by shortening challenge flags, by shortening replay reviews? This is just simple stuff.
I,
This is common sense.
and the thing that pisses me off when I found this out, when the editor told me about this, I was so pissed off because I understand it's in the center of the football. If you move the chip over to the end of the fucking football, to the tip, to the tip of the fucking football, and they already have it on the chains. All you have to do is just. I'm sure there's smart people in the world. They could figure it the fuck out.
They easily could. And I'm hoping they do in the years to come.
I don't think they will. Honestly, I lost hope for the NFL. Honest to God, because I didn't. Number one, it's been in the fucking league since 2017. That's 8 years. That's almost a fucking decade.
You're going to lose a lot more hope after the Super Bowl. Shameless plug by me.
But 8 years, and they haven't done anything. I don't see them doing it for the next maybe 5 years.
We'll see. I mean, look, the more that this gets attention, and especially when there's huge plays that have huge consequences on the outcome of a game like they did in Buffalo and Kansas City this past 2 weeks, the NFL is going to have no choice but to do something. Something. Whether it's a trial in college football, maybe. Whether it's a trial in the AFL, who is one of their partners. Fuck it. Do it. Let's get it in. Because if I see one more chain gang by the year 2030, football shouldn't be a sport at that point.
I agree. I absolutely fucking agree.
And to be fair, I kind of do have hope in them that they'll have something like this within the next 5 years.
I don't know how.
I know that's cautiously optimistic of me, but I'm just saying.
I don't know how. Because I haven't seen positive movement in the NFL. In my lifetime, I don't think I've seen positive movement in the NFL. Honestly. Because, obviously, just to pick on the NFL even more, the officials, like, they had the rule for you could challenge a penalty, a PI, which I thought was great. I thought it was good that you're able to challenge that because that's a gimme call. That's what, if you see it in a review, it could be a better call than what you actually say. That shit got yanked out so goddamn fast.
Look, the NFL has problems. Every sport has problems. But the one thing with every other sport is they are attempting to fix them.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, whatever the cure or whatever the fix may be, they're attempting to do it. The NFL just needs to actually, like, step up and get with the times. This ain't 1970 anymore. We don't need a chain gang. We don't need two guys who are getting paid minimum wage to come out onto the field touting a stupid chain to see if it's a first down or not in one of the biggest games in NFL season.
Yeah. It's despicable.
Oh, that's my point on that.
I think it's a fair point.
It's disappointing, and I hope they fix it.
Obviously, I think that's one thing we do agree upon is I hope they do fix it. Will they fix it? Probably not. Because fuck the NFL. Roger Goodell sitting. Let me just rant. I just want to say this one last thing. Roger Goodell is sitting on his fucking ass right now with his dick in his fucking hand, just waiting for the fucking Chiefs to win the fucking Super Bowl so he could suck Patrick Mahomes' dick. I'm sorry. I need to get that out. Fuck Roger Goodell and fuck the Chiefs.
I sense a lot of pent-up anger from you just because I think you know deep down that the Eagles are going to lose.
I hope you croak. All right.
But we can move on, right, Derek?
Yes.
Can we get to my segment?
Of course we can.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
It's mailbag time. Yay. Okay, so this week we have two quick questions.
Okay.
One of them is solely for me because it is a hockey question, so I want to thank that individual for sending it out there. I appreciate it, big fella. And one of them is an NBA question, which we will discuss.
Wait, so you don't think I know much about hockey, so you're not going to include me?
No, you don't know much about hockey.
I might know.
So die. We'll start off with that question so I can get it out of the way, okay? So this first question is from Wilhelm in Boner Springs, Kansas. Wilhelm, thank you. First time, long time. This guy is a big boy just based on his profile picture, so I appreciate him calling in from Boner Springs, Kansas. I really do. But Wilhelm's question is on the hockey realm. I think he knows I'm a Ranger fan, so he definitely kind of pushed me a little bit on this one. This little fuck, he pushed me. However, we'll get into it. The question is, for anybody who doesn't know, there was a huge trade in the NHL last week. The New York Rangers acquired JT Miller from the Vancouver Canucks. We obviously did give a couple of things in return. The New York Rangers gave Victor Mancini, who is a defensive prospect. They gave Filipino, who is a young center who has had some injury histories in his career, but is a very good, promising young player. And they gave a protected top 13, so protected in the top 13 first round pick to the Vancouver Canucks for JT Miller and a couple of young defensive prospects. The question is, does JT Miller make the New York Rangers a playoff contender? Oh, Wilhelm. I hope you're having fun out there in Boner Springs, Kansas. This is a very loaded question, right? Because JT Miller, for anybody who doesn't follow hockey too much, right? JT Miller is a very, very good player. Right? He is a definite upgrade over Filipino. This guy is a bona fide center. For anybody who doesn't know as well, the Rangers did originally draft JT Miller in 2011. So he was originally on the New York Rangers, left, got traded, came back, just got traded back. This guy has had a very good career. Right? He's one of the best centers in the game. Truly, he is. He is a perennial at this point in his career 80 to 90 point player within the NHL. So for anybody who doesn't know, NHL points are assists plus goals. That's how many points you make, right? The last few seasons, he has had 103 points, 82 points, and 99 points. So this guy is extremely good at what he does, being a center that he is, a first-line center. So, yes, the Rangers made a massive upgrade in terms of choosing JT Miller over Filipino, right? That nobody's denying that. However, the Rangers have a lot of other issues on their team, right? They have some aging players in Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider who have just not played, how their careers have gone out this year. They've taken a very big downturn in their production, in their performance, which is very disappointing. They have one of the worst defenses in the league.
I was just about to say that.
Their first line defense between Ryan Lindgren and Adam Fox is one of the worst defensive pairs in the entire NHL. Nobody in the NHL allows more high danger chances per game than Ryan Lindgren. And this is coupled with the fact that the Rangers do have a top 3 goaltending tandem in the league. So the reason why the Rangers are even remotely where they are right now is because of their goaltending. So, does JT Miller himself make them a playoff contender? Absolutely not. No. He's going to get them closer. They may make the playoffs. Are they a contender? No. The Rangers would have to make some additional moves here. They would probably have to trade Ryan Lindgren and get a big boy defensive player to pair with Adam Fox on the first line. They would have to go out there and get another fourth liner who can play and be gritty because they just lost Adam Edstrom for 2.5 to 3.5 months, which is effectively the rest of the year here. Not to mention at all, the Rangers are currently not in the playoffs, for anybody who doesn't know. The Rangers are at 54 points with 30 games remaining. They are 5 points out of a wild card spot at the moment, with 3 games in hand, mind you. So it's definitely possible for them to make a playoff spot. And we do have the break coming up here, which I know me and Derek will talk about, which is the nations. When they're facing off US, Canada, Finland, Sweden. So we'll talk about that as well. So they have 3 games left to go, all against playoff teams. All against teams that are right on their tail. The Pittsburgh Penguins, the Boston Bruins, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. So these next 3 games are huge. So to give you and I thank you again, Wilhelm, for the question. Me and Derek appreciate it deeply. Keep watching, keep giving questions. Simple answer, no. JT Miller does not make the Rangers a playoff contender. More complicated answer, can he with other moves? Absolutely. This guy is one of the best centers in the NHL, and he's proven it already just in his first 2 games with the Rangers, already having 2 goals and 2 assists. So it's a complex question, but I hope I answer that for you, Wilhelm. I hope I answered that.
Can I say something?
Of course.
I do. The one thing I will say, like, obviously, I agree with you 100% with it could be beneficial long term, but I don't think that this filled the problem that you guys had, which is the defense. Because as you said, it's pretty much how I see it. It's Adam Fox by himself.
Adam Fox has not been great either. I will say
No,
that. And
obviously, he hasn't been great, but I feel like that he, obviously, as you said, Lindgren.
Ryan Lindgren needs to go, and you need to replace him with a very prominent, sure-handed defenseman who can actually guard the front of the net, so Igor doesn't want to kill himself after every game.
Yeah, like I think like with a couple more moves, 'cause I don't know when the deadline ends specifically.
The deadline is in early March.
Yeah, so you could obviously make some moves for defensemen, but I do think that this is a step in the right way to being a playoff contender, not to what they were a Stanley Cup contender, but a playoff contender. I 100%
It
agree
was
with that.
definitely the right move. I actually do think the Rangers won it because I thought we would have had to give up more for JT. But we'll see how things go in the next 3 games because if the Rangers lose the next 3 games all against teams that they're battling for a playoff spot, they may not even trade at the deadline. They may just accept defeat, go into next year, do what they got to do.
And lay down and die.
So we may be having a very different conversation next week. We'll keep you tuned there, viewers. However, we will get into the second question. Derek, I'm going to leave this one open to you because I've spoken a lot in the last 10 minutes, so I'm going to give you some time to digest this question. Nikki from the Bronx is back, bud.
Nikki!
Nikki from the Bronx is back. Our perennial Mets fan who lives in the Bronx. Hope you're hanging in there, Nikki. Baseball season's right around the corner, man. You hang in there. But he did give us an NBA question, and it does directly pertain to the trade deadline that is coming this Thursday. One of the younger teams in the NBA, Derek, is the Houston Rockets. They are, I think I would say, and I think you would agree with me, ahead of schedule. They are third in the Western Conference. They are at 32-17. They have a very, very good young roster who continues to play very good game in and game out. Nikki's question is, during the trade deadline, if they were to make this trade, does Kevin Durant make the Rockets a Western Conference title threat?
That's tough. That's very tough.
It's a good question.
That's
Thank you, Nikki.
That's a very good question.
Digest it. Take a moment, and I'm going to let you speak because I've been doing a lot of speaking.
All right. This is how I do see it. Obviously, it is a young team, as what you said. They have been gelling together pretty well. But Kevin Durant is Kevin fucking Durant. I do think adding him to the Rockets will make them a Western Conference threat. I do specifically think it will potentially, because I don't know what the lead is from first place. What's the lead from first place, to be exact?
I have it up right here. So the Rockets, as I mentioned, were 32-17. OKC is 39-9. So the Rockets are 7.5 games out of first.
I think that with a KD trade, that could make it narrow. I think it could potentially be 2, maybe. I do think they would get the second seed. If that trade does happen, they will get the second seed. But
They'll leap the Memphis Grizzlies.
yes, but I don't think they should focus on him.
Okay.
I do think that they should get another point guard because obviously they have Van Vliet as their starting point guard right now, I believe.
Well, look, the question, like, it's very intriguing because they do have a lot of young players and they are definitely ahead of schedule. I mean, they have Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, Jabari Smith, Amon Thompson, who has just exploded on the scene. I think the bigger question is here. Do I like? I think you're right, Derek. Yes, Kevin Durant does that make them a legitimate threat. It's do you want to like? Do you want do you want to act too quickly in your window, right? Because you are ahead of schedule. Do you want to give up a ton of picks for Kevin Durant, who is aging, just for a chance at a title? Where I'm going to be honest, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I still think even with Kevin Durant, OKC or Denver beats them.
I think they beat Denver. I don't think they beat OKC.
Okay. So, I mean, that narrows it down a little bit, but would you mortgage, even more of your future and even more of this outstanding rebuild for an aging player who, don't get me wrong, Kevin Durant's one of the best we've ever seen and he could still score the ball, but he would be taking away a lot from the younger guys too.
It also depends on this too. When does is Katie's contract done this year? Because if it's done this year, I would not even go near the trade. Because why give up your future for just one year?
Kevin Durant has one more year, so
No.
he has next year under contract, and then he would be a UFA.
I wouldn't even do it for
Okay.
two, because that's pretty much this year and then next year. That's 2 years left on his
Yes.
contract. I would just keep the team the way it is. You're gonna most likely make the playoffs unless you have a drastic loss. So I think just keep the team the way it is. Keep on rebuilding the young players, and then you still have free agency to where if the Rockets got a Luka Doncic in free agency, which they can unload a lot of money, I don't think going off of the knowing KD's contract, I wouldn't do it. It would obviously make him a threat, but I wouldn't do it.
Okay, I'll give you another hypothetical now that you brought up Luka, right?
Yes.
Rockets trade for Kevin Durant.
Yes.
They give up, let's just say, aging player. Let's just say, for lack of a better term, and I'm not sure if this is comparable. Let's say they give up 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks.
Oh God.
Okay? Let's just say, because look, the picks are flying in the NBA. Let's be real here. So it's possible. They make it to the Western Conference Finals this year. They lose. All right? They then sign Luka Doncic.
Oh my God.
The trade's looking pretty good then, am I right?
Yeah.
You're pairing Kevin Durant with Luka on top of the rest of your young players that I've already mentioned.
Yeah, but this is the question though. Are they able to? Because you got to think about it. Jalen Green has a huge contract. I'm 95%. He has a huge contract.
Jalen Green is getting paid only $12 million a year.
He's not. He didn't get. Is he eligible for a supermax?
So his cap hit next year is going up to $33 million, and then the following 2 years his cap hit goes up to $36 million. I don't think he's eligible for the supermax until the 27 season, maybe the 26-27 season.
All right. So depending on how they want to lean on the contracts, then yeah, that would be smart to do that, to get KD and fucking ball out and try to get Luka and then build a super team in Houston, which they haven't seen in fucking years.
No, they haven't seen that since
Olajuwon, Ralph
I was
Simpson.
gonna say Olajuwon, but I really wanted to think somebody sooner. I mean, they were really good with Harden too. Let's not be rash here. They were good with Harden and Paul.
I would say they were arguably better with Harden and Russ.
Okay, you can argue that.
But
I will allow that argument.
yes, I get one. Finally, I get one. But overall, the consensus, I do think it would make them a threat. In my opinion, I wouldn't do it purely based off of why add an older guy to your team when your team's already young, playing well. They're only going to get better. That's how I see it.
Fair enough. Nikki, love the question, big man.
Thank you, Nikki.
Hope that answered it. Wanted to thank one more time Wilhelm and Nikki for their questions this week. Keep them coming. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We look at all these comments. We're happy to take new questions from everybody. So love the questions, everybody. Let's see if I get. Yeah, there it is. Woo! Yep, love the questions, everybody. Keep them coming. But 2 good ones this week, and we'll definitely delve more into the NBA and the NHL following Super Bowl as well. So stay tuned, everyone.
Yep, stay tuned. Dean, because obviously we talked about the main things, the main focal points of this
Yep.
week. Is there anything small or anything like you want to talk about in the sports world real quick before we move on?
Nothing in particular. Off the top of my head, remember everybody, I think we are now within the month where pitchers and catchers will be reporting soon. That's happiness for all of us baseball fans. So we love to see it. Free agency in MLB is still going on. Still some massive people out there who have not to be signed. Two being Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman. So it's going to be curious to see where they sign. There are still some minor deals trickling in. So, I mean, one, for example, was the Yankees signed Tim Hill today, to a 1 year deal, just a relief pitcher. Like I said, minor deal. Another one was that the Dodgers traded one of their relief pitchers in Ryan Brazier to the Cubs, presumably to get, roster space for, their god tier players that they're signing left and right. So there are some minor things that were, minor deals that are coming in that we'll continue to speak of. So that's always good. And then NHL next week, we will be speaking about it. The Four Nations face off. It's going to be awesome. I promise. The best players in the NHL facing off for their nation during the All-Star break because there's no All-Star game this year. So we're going to be speaking on that. Looking forward to that. But that's all I got in terms of little stuff, Derek.
Obviously this week was very jam-packed with mainly the Super Bowl, the trade deadline for the NBA, which we did hit upon, and obviously MLB is still going on, obviously. Real quick, because we haven't really spoke about this, where do you think the best landing spot for Mr. Bregman would be?
Good question. So, believe it or not, the Houston Astros have made some moves in order to try to clear cap, and I think in efforts to re-sign him, like they did trade Ryan Presley away. Do I think that's the best place for him? Not necessarily. If you're looking fit-wise, seriously, the best place for him is the Mets. It really is, right? The Mets have a gaping hole at third base right now. Not to mention first base as well. But Alex Bregman would be a huge upgrade over who would they start at third base right now? Brett Beatty. So it's just a matter of whether they can strike a deal where they get the years a little bit lower because I believe from the latest reports that Bregman wants 8 years. I don't see any team giving him 8 years. I think he's going to get more or less around 4 or 5 years. And I think that's generous. Maybe you up the AAV a little bit to give him the lower years. So we'll see how that goes out. But it's going to be curious to see because he's a really good hitter and he's a really good defender. So I'm curious to see. It has to be the years. That's why he's on the market. He's probably just not budging.
Do you see? I know it might be crazy if I could say. Do you see him going to the Yankees in the slightest?
No. Not even a little.
Not even a little.
Nope. Especially not after Hal Steinbrenner's press conference 2 weeks ago where he screamed poor. Like this, like I have no words for that man. And the Yankees offseason is pretty much done. What the team that they have right now, bearing some minor relief pitcher signings like they did today with Tim Hill, their roster is pretty much set now. So that's just not even close to an option. Not even a little. Nope.
I'm just saying. I think a good spot for him could potentially be they could add on to the team is I think the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays could be a good spot for him. Add another hitter, and don't get me wrong, Bregman. He's not the best defender, but he's still a very good defender.
Well, look, if he's looking for years and money, Toronto is giving it out for free, and nobody wants to go there.
Exactly. It's a toss-up. Obviously, as you said, no one wants to go to fucking Toronto. But I think if it comes down to it and they offer him the 8 years, he'll take it.
If they offer him 8 years. It seems nobody in the industry wants to offer him 8 years.
And it sucks because he's a good third baseman. He's a good player.
He's a good third baseman. He hits for average around 260, 270. He has a little bit of pop. I mean, what is it now? Two-time World Series champion or three? I believe the Astros won 2. So this guy has the playoff experience as well. It's just a matter of who wants to fork up maybe an extra year or two to get him signed.
Yep. Well, that was a little quick segment we talked about baseball, but obviously We gotta conclude this podcast, but we can't conclude it without
Baller of the week.
very proud of you, dude. That high pitch and it actually kind of stayed in. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I felt good on that one, actually.
Yeah, that was good. Now, do you have your ball of the week? Do you want to go first?
I have it ready, locked, and loaded.
I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. My ball of the week is going to stay within the sports realm. It is going to go to the NBA, and it is going to go to none other than El Capitan of the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson.
Oh, God.
This guy has had an unbelievable year, and I did want to note this statistic that he just achieved last night when he had 40 points and 10 plus assists. He actually had 42 for anybody who's keeping track. But now, in his career as a Knick, he has 18 40-point games in 194 games played. For context for everybody, he just passed Melo, who has 17 40-point games as a Knick in 412 games played. Almost more than double the games played than Jalen Brunson, and now Jalen Brunson has more 40-point games as a Knick than Carmelo. I'm going to start a dialogue. Jalen Brunson is already a better New York Knick than Carmelo Anthony ever was. And that's a lot of praise, because not only has Brunson transformed this team to being a legitimate contender, bringing in high-profile people such as Kat, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby. The list goes on, and he's brought us into prominence. He was named the captain of the New York Knicks, which hasn't been done in quite some time, since I believe Patrick Ewing. Feel free to fact check me on that.
Nope.
And on top of that, he has brought us farther in the playoffs than Melo ever did.
That's fair.
My baller of the week, Jalen Brunson. I hope he continues to push us forward. I hope he brings us maybe an NBA championship. I'm not going to get my hopes up too much because it is the New York Knicks. However, love the man. Good for him passing Melo. It's only just beginning.
That's a good baller of the week. I understand why you did it, because you're a Knicks fan, and he has been playing great for the Knicks. It is a good baller of the week. Now I have a question for you.
Okay.
Am I able to do one quick joke baller of the week and then my actual baller of the week? That's fine, right?
I guess you can. And by the way, I just looked it up. The captain before Jalen Brunson. I checked myself. All right. So fuck you, editor. The last captain before Jalen Brunson was fucking Lance Thomas. So it's safe to say Jalen Brunson is probably the best captain of the last. I'm looking. 25 plus years since Patrick Ewing.
Jesus fucking Christ. That is crazy. All right.
But let's hear the question.
All right. So, well, obviously, I'm going to do one quick funny one. I'm going to do my actual baller of the week. My quick funny one for baller of the week is the little kid who at the Grammys on the red carpet who peeked over and saw Kanye's wife naked. He wanted to be every person in the Grammys wanted to see it. No one got to see it, but he got to see it first. Respect to that little kid. Only
gotta start young, I suppose. Am I right?
Gotta start him young. Great for him. But anyway, I am gonna stick with the Grammys for the baller of my week. I'm gonna go to one specific artist purely because he's had a pretty good week so far, and the week just started. My baller of the week is Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar had a year and a half this past upcoming year. He had one of the biggest songs in the world with Not Like Us, which was ironically a diss song towards Drake, to where it has people saying in the Grammys the minor part, which please cue the clip of everyone chanting a minor in the Grammys.
Too tired, trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
But overall, he just won. I believe he won 2 or 3 Grammys last night on Sunday, and he's also performing on the Super Bowl, which is huge. It's first time. It says he's the second big time rapper of like nowadays generation to do this. So good for him. Only more things to come for him because he's arguably one of the greatest artists of all time, of our generation. So congratulations to him for winning the Grammys, and congratulations to him for this Super Bowl performance that he's about to have. That is my baller of the week.
Okay, good for you, man.
I
I mean, you started it off real nice with Kanye's woman being just full on nude, but all right, all right, I gotta give respect to Kendrick. That's fine. That's fine.
But
Oh god.
Jesus Christ. All right, that concludes this podcast. Obviously, the Super Bowl's coming up. Everyone, please watch it. Have fun watching it. Make the bets. Drink some alcohol. We're 21. Eat as much food as possible, because I know me and Dean are going to be either A, getting blacked out, or B, eating a bunch of food, or both.
And if anybody wants free advice, take the Kansas City Chiefs money line.
I fucking hate you. I'm going to hit you with my car. All right, everyone, like, subscribe, follow on TikTok. More TikTok clips are going to be coming out. Obviously, just posted one yesterday, to be specific, and more Instagram reels. And I'm, as soon as our editor, creates the files to where I can load it onto Spotify, it will be on Spotify. Ideally, before the Super Bowl is done, we will have those files and I'll put it on Spotify. But Dean, any closing note before I sign this out completely?
Let's go Kansas City, baby.
Fuck you. Let's go Eagles. Let's hope the Eagles win, and I'm actually happy. Peace.